Trego there with that report. Newspapers now on the programme. And for that, I'm joined on set by Alison Sargent. She's starting with that attempted coup in Guinea that, of course, we talked about in the news. Those special forces detaining the president, Alpha Condé, Alison.
Yeah, and there's a lot of frustration today in the West African press. Whether this coup succeeds, whether or not it is applauded or condemned, Ghanaian paper Lejeli writes that it's a big step backwards, first for Guinea, but also for all of Africa. The paper points out that Guinea is going to be celebrating its 63rd year of independence at the start of October. And they write, in 63 years, we could have done better. We should have done better. Alpha Condé, who for so long represented an alternative to dictatorship and authoritarianism in Guinea, should have left when it was time, resisted that desire for an extra term. Still, the overarching view from the newspapers is that nothing justifies this military takeover. L'Observateur Palga, which is a paper from Burkina Faso, writes that yes, Guinea is suffering from the rising costs of basic goods, from economic hardship, from COVID-19, but the paper says nothing justifies fragilizing the country in this way.
Yeah, the papers are also wondering what reaction Guinea can expect from other African countries, the rest of the international community as well.
Yeah, and papers are really not expecting very much. Many point out that while some action was taken against the military takeover in Mali, no one did anything in Chad when Idriss Déby's son took over after his father's death. Another paper from Burkina Faso, this is Wakat Sarah, writes, from the African Union to the UN, they're all dusting off their scratched disc of condemnations, but they forgot to play that disc in Chad. And the paper wonders specifically if there's going to be a response from Emmanuel Macron this time after he, like so many others, quote, swallowed that power transfer from father to son.
Well, another story making headlines today is a move from over 200 health journals to publish an editorial. This is calling for emergency action on climate change.
Yeah, and it's the first time that so many health journals have all come together to make a statement. This editorial is going to be published in The Lancet, in the New England Journal of Medicine, the East African Medical Journal, and the Chinese Science Bulletin, just to name a few of them. One co-author of the editorial told The Guardian, health professionals have been on the front line of the COVID-19 crisis, and they are united in warning that going above 1.5 degrees Celsius and allowing the continued destruction of nature will bring the next far deadlier crisis. They call for 2021 to be the year that the world finally changes course. And The Guardian explains that this editorial is being published in medical journals ahead of the UN General Assembly and the COP26 Climate Summit, which is going to be starting in Glasgow in November.
Let's move on to something a little lighter, although if you're a football fan, perhaps it's not that light. We're going to go to South America for this World Cup qualifying match between Brazil and Argentina, interrupted by Brazil's health authorities. You would have seen that in the news a few minutes ago.
Yes, and very incredible images and very serious news, Stuart,
yes,
in both Brazil and Argentina. This game is interrupted after just about 7 minutes of playtime. They were there, of course, to deport several Argentine players who had come from the UK without doing Brazil's mandatory quarantine. As we said, very dramatic scene. It sparked huge reaction. Brazilian paper O Globo has rounded up criticism from the press that called it shameful and a scandal. Many people are wondering why Brazilian health authorities waited for the last minute to try and send home these players when they'd already been in the country for a couple days. Argentine paper Clarin explains how politicians even got involved. That's how serious this was. Jair Bolsonaro was upset by the game getting suspended. He tried to step in and get the Argentine players off the hook. He wanted to get the match started back up. His son, though, tweeted criticism of those Argentine players, saying that they knew that they were breaking Brazil's laws. Some Argentine officials, meanwhile, were critical of Brazil. They said that it looked more like a theatrical performance than the enforcing of health measures. On social media, meanwhile, the debate sort of devolved into that classic football rivalry, with people arguing over who was better, Pele or Maradona.
Very important decision to make. Final story might give some inspiration to the sportier amongst us, if that one didn't. Runners who've been setting off Paris's new speed radars.
That's
apparently.
right. So last week, Paris lowered the city's speed limit to just 30 kilometers an hour, part of the city's effort to limit cars and to fight pollution. So if you want a demonstration of just how slow that is for cars, Le Figaro reports that several runners have been showing off their speed by intentionally setting off the city's speed radars at night. Now, the paper does explain that these are professional runners here in France, so it's not for everyone, Stuart. You and I maybe not be capable of this, but it does make me want to try. I did the calculation, and you'd have to be able to run a mile in a little over 3 minutes, which is generally not possible, but maybe when you're not running the entire mile, you're just doing a couple meters.
Yeah.
You can do it.
We do it, we get up to 29, wouldn't we, Alison?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right? Maybe.
Maybe. Just. Alison,